On the opposite side of the world, two outsiders are daring to take on Silicon Valley itself. They founded Lorikeet, a now $200 million AI agent startup from Sydney. Somehow winning deals head-to-head against the Valley's multi-billion-dollar giants.
Well, who are these AI giants? Collectively, they're funded by all of Silicon Valley. You have companies like Decagon, which are funded by A16Z, and then the mammoth Sierra, who are funded by Thrive Capital and Sequoia, and are led by Brett Taylor, who is actually the chairman of OpenAI and one of the greatest entrepreneurs in the world right now. And looming over all of them is OpenAI, with $40 billion raised, the best talent in the Valley, and honestly a playbook to disrupt any industry they choose.
Sam Altman, he really turned OpenAI into a cultural force with ChatGPT, but now he's chasing enterprise, which is where the real money is.
We're in the market and we're, taking deals off these big guys. Having lived there, there's like nothing magical in the water in San Francisco that makes you give a shit and push hard and try hard.
Winning is fun.
Yeah.
And I expect to win.
So there's lots of questions that we've got to answer here. Firstly, who are these outsiders daring to take on Silicon Valley? Steve Hind, Lorikeet CEO, rose quickly at Stripe, guided by the Collison brothers.
They're like, hey, Steve is one of the best Stripes we worked with. He was a superstar and he's thinking of doing something.
And then you have the CTO, Jamie Hall.
Jamie was one of the early team members on what became the Google Gemini, so he knows these models inside out, sort of as well as anybody else.
And so what does Lorikeet even do?
Consumers will expect is that there is an agent on your site that just solves your problems. They can call it, they can text, they can chat, they can do it 24/7.
But the main question at the heart of this film is how is this little-known startup in Sydney outmaneuvered billion-dollar heavyweights in Silicon Valley? And if we take that one step further, can you actually build a sustainable AI agent company outside of Silicon Valley?
Silicon Valley.
Silicon Valley.
In tech, Silicon Valley space.
It's the famous Silicon Valley. It's fast-paced, alluring, and intimidating all at the same time.
People here are always using the latest and greatest gadgets. You can see what's going to be mainstream a year or two from now.
So Jamie, you and Steve, you came back from Silicon Valley and you work in really big jobs over there. You're at Stripe and Google, respectively. Why did you come back to Australia to start a company?
We wanted to come back because Sydney is the greatest city in the world and it's the greatest place to live. It's where we're from and it's where we wanted to make a base.
I mean, look at it, Surrey Hills. Is there any better place? I mean, I think 10 years ago, you could have tried to build a startup in Australia and maybe had the fact you're in Australia be the reason that you don't succeed. I just don't think that's true anymore.
Why shouldn't we build a global business that is a market leader and live in the greatest city in the world at the same time?
There are world-class companies here kind of scaling up and throwing off talent. There's a really strong venture ecosystem. There are exciting companies that want to become customers of startups. And I think those are all the things you need. And I was really excited about the idea of kind of taking some of the experience that I earned over in the States and bringing it back to build a really high quality company here. And excited to do that. And what better place?
Steve has been one of these superstars that were given more and more and more responsibility in everything he did. And he was always put on the most complex problems that were critical. Some of the best people that I worked with unequivocally were saying great things about Steve. So that's why I was very, very excited when he wanted to start something big in a complex space, in a competitive space, because he knows how to think strategically, but at the same time get things done.
Jamie worked at my last company, Decagon, which was sort of one of the early machine learning AI companies. And then he moved to the team at Google that built what ended up being Gemini. And so he was really one of the first in the world, to play with large language models, train large language models, build the system, that has gone on to become Gemini. And so he knows these models inside out, sort of as well as anybody else.
So they left Stripe and Google because of this opportunity to capture a huge market. But my question is, why bet on customer support? Probably one of the least sexy opportunities in all of AI and tech.
Yeah, and I'm very curious about what were they actually building that put them in this race against these Silicon Valley giants. And so this is what Steve actually had to say.
As consumers catch up to what AI can do, they're going to demand that every business and service they interact with gives them a universal concierge. Universal meaning they can call it, they can text, they can chat, they can do it 24/7. And concierge meaning, it actually solves their problems. Like if you think today, you might go and talk to a customer support AI agent and basically get told, well, here's a summary of the steps you can take to solve the problem yourself. That just won't be acceptable. It's barely acceptable now. That's where AI is going to go in the customer experience space.
So Steve and Jamie have this big bet that every company will have this universal AI concierge 24/7, kind of like an AI agent, but for everything customer support related.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting is that this isn't just a standard Q&A chatbot, which a lot of people think. These are actually agents that are able to take really critical decisions in very high stakes environments, thinking things like fintech and crypto and even healthcare.
But something we've been curious about is how is Lorikeet winning head-to-head against all their competitors? These are companies that have raised hundreds of millions of dollars and founded by giants like Brett Taylor and backed by funds like Sequoia.
Yeah, it seems like the most unlikely David versus Goliath battle.
We need to see their product in action, so you can decide for yourself whether AI agents are anywhere close to delivering on their promise.
I wouldn't say they're overhyped, basically because there's so much potential. It's just that it's really hard to get them to work right. If you're building something very, very generic, like ChatGPT or Gemini, there's a limited depth of what it can do, and that's still most people's experience of them. Whereas if it's a focused product with a specific goal, the sky's the limit, really.
We get asked all the time, maybe by actually one or two people, how do we build our business while also building a media company on the side? There's tracking engineering, there's product updates, there's investor updates, and then there's the whole media side, which is documentary scripts and managing all of our editors.
The answer is more simple than you'd think. We just run everything on Notion.
No joke, Notion is literally our second brain.
The best part, it helps us move fast.
We don't waste time across 10 different tools, we have everything in one place. If you're building anything, whether it's a startup or even a podcast like this, Notion is your way to manage it all in one place.
And we're super proud to give all of our audience a special offer, up to 6 months free of Notion Business through our link. That's access to built-in AI, OKR templates for investor updates and product roadmaps, everything you'd need as a startup.
We run our entire company on Notion.
You should too.
Hit the link below to claim your free first 6 months.
Now, back to the doco.
So when you're shooting documentaries with fast-growing tech companies, not everything goes to plan.
Yeah, look, when it comes to AI agents, everybody's talking about them, everyone's saying that they're using them, but we haven't actually seen one in action. We want to see what a high-powered and highly effective agent looks like. So we're meant to do a product demo with Steve and Jamie, but when you're part of a fast-growing startup, sometimes you've got to run off and do some real work. So they're working in the background, and we're actually going to come back tomorrow and do a proper product demo.
The technology is moving really fast, and what AI agents can do today, even compared to 6 months ago, has changed a ton. I think one of the best ways to appreciate that is just to see it in action, and so I thought I'd show you now.
Cool, let's do it.
Cool. All right, so I'm role-playing here as Sarah. Sarah is expecting a transfer from her sister, and it hasn't arrived, and so she's called up to try and figure out what's going on.
Hi, my name is Sandra. Thanks for calling, Cindy. I'm an intelligent assistant, and I'm here to help with your inquiry. How can I help you today?
Hey, Sandra. My sister sent me some money and hasn't arrived yet. Can you help me figure out what's going on?
Thanks for calling, Cindy, Sarah. I'm happy to help with your issue and have your account details ready. Just need to verify your date of birth first. Could you share that with me?
Yeah, April 30, 1993.
Thanks, Sarah. We've sent a one-time code to your phone ending in 9626. Could you share that code with me?
Yeah, it's 777123.
I see, Sarah. Could you share the amount your sister sent, the date and time she sent it, and any message or description she included? That way I can check our system.
I'm not sure, but her name's Anna Davis.
I see the transaction you're referring to, Sarah. Let me get that straight for you. It's the $200 credit from Anna Davis on July 29th. Labeled as a monthly transfer. The status currently shows as processing. Sometimes transfers take a little extra time to clear, but we're on it. You should receive the funds within 24 hours as usual. We'll send a confirmation to your email at sarah.smith@gmail.com once it's all set. Thanks for reaching out to Senvi. We're here to help. Have a great day.
Oh, awesome. Thanks very much. And so we're done. I think one of the cool things you see there is this isn't like the last generation of technology where the customer's got to say the magic words or the keyword or select one. They can speak naturally, for the code, they could say 777-123. They might not have all the information to hand, and so the AI can actually intelligently go figure out what's happened. So you can remember it kind of asked what was the date, what was the amount. I didn't know, I just know my sister's name's Anna, and so it was able to identify that against the sender name in the transaction detail and identify the transaction directly. This kind of logging of the thought process is really important because like humans, AI won't get things right every time. But by having a highly inspectable system, it makes it really easy for Lorikeet users to understand when the AI might not have all the information it needs or might have made a mistake, and to correct that in the data we provide or the instructions we provide so that it gets it right next time. And that inspectability is kind of a key feature in the system and something that we've worked really hard to build because it's just completely mission critical for the type of customers we work with.
So you've just seen Lorikeet's agent in action, and it may look simple, but imagine this in the hands of every single business 24/7 around the world. Not just answering customers' questions, but acting for them 24/7. And I think this is where the promise of the technology is that it becomes incredible.
We need to investigate this. It's time to understand why all these famous tech leaders back this duo, a fast-rising Stripe manager combined with a veteran Google researcher.
Pre your Series A, you had some phenomenal people already backing you. Mel and Cliff from Canva, Jack Zhang from Airwallex, Claire Hughes-Johnson from Stripe. What do you think these kind of phenomenal technology leaders saw in you to back you so early?
I think they saw an exceptional technology leader in Steve, and I was lucky enough to be along for the ride.
Is that your joking? That's not your real.
I think in Steve and me, they saw a combination of business savvy and technical ability that I think they believe we can go for a long way.
It probably varies, to be honest. I mean, the Capital 49 folks, so Jack and Co from Airwallex ran an RFP, quite a competitive deal process with all the big names in it, and felt like our product kind of significantly outperformed, and they were like, hey, we want in. Great way to get an investor on board. Mel and Cliff was sort of an introduction after we'd raised some money from Blackbird and kind of talked about what we were doing, and they got excited about supporting local players. And funny story, for people out there fundraising, like I'd interacted with Claire a lot. Like I was like, I'm pretty sure Claire knows who I am. Like she's a big dog in the world, but like I think she knows who I am. But Claire, I was like on a team that she led at Stripe, and so have known her now for I guess 6+ years and sort of stayed in touch. And I reached out to her as soon as we were raising money and just said, hey, we're kind of building in this ops space. You're the best possible angel I could imagine. Like, do you want to be involved? So I kind of emailed her somewhat out of the blue. Like I had her personal email and didn't hear anything. And I was there going, oh, she doesn't know who you are. And I was like, you know what? Just send a follow-up email. And I was like, 2 weeks later, sent the follow-up email. She replied like 10 minutes later, being, oh, sorry, I missed this. Would love to be involved. So like a great lesson for anyone out there kind of thinking about fundraising, that all of the rejection is actually in your head. Just send at least one follow-up email before you kind of give up.
We met him on a Friday, and then by Monday we committed. It's just one of those moments where you meet a founder and you're going to back them. So very early on when we first met Steve, it was really his ability to attack a problem space. It was the product obsession. Then I think the next round we had Jamie join, and we felt, okay, there's some serious technical chops here in this most recent round. It was really just on the kind of depth of thought, the strength of the customer feedback, and how they've been winning in so many head-to-heads against big, overfunded kind of SF companies.
Yeah, look, I think like the market opportunity here is just huge, and I don't think that there's going to be just one winner. Customer support touches like every company, every market. It's wide open territory right now. Just the mentality of tackling the most complex and hardest ticketing problems first was something that really resonated for us.
One of the first things that really hit me, that like, okay, there is someone in Silicon Valley with great skills, with great reputation, and with an ambition that matches many great founders I've met, and he wants to come back and build something really, really special, and we need to be part of this. he was able to come to our partnership meeting and impress all the partners. Everyone was impressed with his ambition, his humility, his like openness on like what he knows, what he doesn't know, what he needs. And we were like, okay, he's someone we really want to partner up with.
A lot of investors are just afraid of backing a company to go up against the kind of anointed winner from, Sequoias and A16Zs of the world. And I think it's actually a testament to the Australian ecosystem that you have these like inbuilt believers, basically, who are like, yeah, we're willing to fund someone to do something just that crazy, which I think is good because they're sort of out of that Silicon Valley hype cycle. I think the Australian ecosystem kind of gives them that courage, and that belief makes a big difference.
How many customers do you have right now?
North of 30, yeah. Depending on we're July 29, so depending on how this month ends, we might go closer to 40.
Okay, so right now, Lorikeet built a product customers love. They've raised $50 million from top-tier investors and angels, but the real fight is all ahead of them. And honestly, I'm not sure how they're going to survive.
AI startup Sierra now raising $175 million in new capital, which puts its valuation at $4.5 billion.
Brett is also the chairman of the board of OpenAI, former co-CEO of Salesforce, former CTO of Facebook. You got a lot of titles. Like Twitter's former chairman. We could be here for a long time.
Jeez,
and the co-creator. Hold on.
Oh my God.
Of Google Maps.
You are one of the least known, most impressive people in the Valley.
I'm Jesse. I'm one of the co-founders of Decagon. Today, we're very excited to announce our Series C, co-led by A16Z and Excel.
We're based in SF, growing really quickly.
In the future, any user of any product, any time, is going to have a personal concierge.
So how has Lorikeet been winning deals head-to-head? At this point in your journey, you're competing against massive companies like Decagon, Sierra, Intercom. So what's your playbook for actually competing against these AI giants in Silicon Valley?
Probably 8 months ago, if you asked me like, how can we compete? It would have been a bit of a theoretical question. Over the last 8 months, we have been competing. We've lost deals to them, but we've won more than we've lost. And I think the most important thing when we think about the competitive landscape in this market is that even the players who are furthest ahead probably have about 0.1% market share. So the idea that you get sort of pushed out into the VC bloodstream that the game is over or we already know who the winners are is, aside from being self-serving, it's just silly. Like, it is very silly to kind of sit 2 minutes into the match and be like, okay, like, game's over. When they put the Lorikeet agent in front of their customers side by side against these competitors, it performs better. Having lived there, there's like nothing magical in the water in San Francisco that makes you give a shit and push hard and try hard. And I think we do that without kind of buying into this like dumb hustle culture thing of like telling people they've got to work 6 days a week or bragging about how many hours we work. Like, if we were winning 10% of deals against those guys, it'd be a lot. I think the last time I looked, we're winning north of 3/4, which is, decent. Like, we're pretty happy with that, even though obviously we don't take it for granted and have to keep earning it every deal. Like, 99% of our focus is just like, how do we understand what they're trying to solve? How do we make sure our solution is tailored to it? How do we make the performance of that solution as strong as possible? How do we kind of hustle? If someone feels understood and they feel like your product is critical to their strategy, then you'll win the deal. One thing that we got feedback on in an early competitive deal was they really liked that we pulled together like a recap of the proof of concept at the end. Here's what we focused on, here's what we showed you, here were the proof points. We didn't do that because we heard that's what Sierra does. We did that because I was like, this seems like a useful thing for the person who has to make this decision. Like, let's package it up and give it to them.
The thing that we've done technically at Lorikeet, and the reason why we keep winning, is actually the same thing as I learned from the research teams at Google, which is start with the experience you want. I want to have a good conversation with the computer, or I want to have a customer support experience that's actually helpful. Start with that. With the end in mind, you then solve backwards to the tech you need to deliver that. So that's fundamentally how we've built. I think our competitors have a lot of strengths, but I think they are limited in their ability to technically innovate at a deep level and are relying on stuff that they take off the shelf and then go and commercialize.
And what are some of the things that you think most of your competitors get wrong about this market?
One of the nails on chalkboard things I see in the market is the D word, deflection. Our competitors market themselves on the deflection rate they can deliver. Deflection means your customer came to you trying to get help and you successfully stopped them from talking to a human. That is just the wrong thing to focus on. If you make it really hard for someone to get to a human operator, your deflection rate will go up. And we've had customers who've moved to Lorikeet from other bigger players do this. They read the transcript and they're like, this customer didn't get helped. They rage quit. Like, I could see them ask the same question 4 times, swear, and then quit. And that was sitting in the deflected column. And so we really don't want to go there. And this goes back to my point that, like, it's not inevitable that this technology will actually lead to anything better for ordinary people. There's every chance that we just end up with crappy customer support, but with AI. And we really don't want that to happen, and we're not going to focus on it.
And starting with the most complicated customers they possibly can. They've developed this specialty on complex workflows.
And that really resonates with particular industries, whether they might be regulated or complex industries like fintech and healthcare.
Whereas other competitors, I think, they were really in this race to just kind of acquire customers regardless of what those customers needed.
All right, so what is Lorikeet's plan to outplay Sierra and Decagon? Lorikeet is betting on solving the most complex, highly regulated customer support use cases first and allowing them to then enter all the other markets with ease. Well, we know it's kind of working for them so far, but what about OpenAI? This is every startup's worry. They've raised $40 billion, they have the best talent in the valley. What if they come into customer support? What is Lorikeet's moat against them if that happens?
And what does Brett Taylor do there? He's Sierra, but he's also chair of OpenAI.
Sam Altman, he really turned OpenAI into a cultural force with ChatGPT, but now he's chasing enterprise, which is where the real money is. GPT-5 is at the center of that push. So yes, the rollout was messy, but the upgrade was never really about the average user. It's meant for high-ticket corporate buyers.
If you look at our trajectory, you can say, like, okay, we're getting to that. We have a path to get to that time horizon. We just need to keep scaling the models.
As ChatGPT gets more powerful and disrupts more industries, what on earth makes Lorikeet defensible against them? Another major player that's casting a shadow over this whole industry is OpenAI. They've just raised $40 billion and they're increasingly looking at the application layer. So what's Lorikeet's defensibility against companies like OpenAI?
What advantage does a focused application layer company have against a foundation model company? Well, the answer is we can spend 100% of our kind of corporate being focused on this problem and the nuances of this problem. The ability to kind of accumulate enough attention to solve those problems, I think, is quite hard, whereas like it's existential for us and we have that existential focus as a result. One way that Anthropic tried to come at this is they released last year a completely open source framework to build your own customer support chatbot. I'm not aware of any serious company that has deployed that framework into production. The reason being, like, the problem was never the framework. The problem was all of the million nuanced decisions you've got to make after that initial framework is in place. It's kind of interesting. Like, if you just go to ChatGPT today and ask it customer support questions about well-known companies, it gives you really quite good answers. If OpenAI is telling me how to integrate with Twilio's APIs like it was this morning, Twilio doesn't really care if it gets it wrong because it's not representing them. So the problem is not like, can OpenAI produce technology that answers customer support questions? Because it already does. But when you as a company are building an AI agent that represents your brand, it's suddenly totally different. The moment it is representing them, there's a whole bunch of controllability, steerability, guardrails that you have to care a hell of a lot about, especially then when you layer on top more regulated industries. It kind of goes up another notch and then becomes very defensible because we can build a great business focusing very hard on that. And I think if you look at the signals from the market, the foundation model companies rely on application model companies like us as customers as well. So there becomes a little bit of a limit on how much they can compete.
We don't think about it that much though, for 2 reasons. One is they're basically platform companies and they're building a big platform. And so I think history has shown that they do better when they're more horizontal and they just don't have the bandwidth to focus that much on a particular application. More seriously though, the second reason is that there's just a lot of benefits to specializing in a particular problem area. When you're thinking about it every day, when you're in the shower thinking about what is a good customer support experience, when you go to sleep at night thinking, how can we make this customer support experience better?
I think one of the most important questions our audience will be thinking about is like, how do you manage your own psychology when up against all these competitors? Adam and I both have like sleepless nights, anxious nights when building a company. How do you go about that process?
I think managing your own psychology is like a pretty important part of trying to build a business. It's certainly a thing I've learned is recognizing that companies that seem legendary are just collections of humans trying to sort shit out. is hugely illuminating. You live in a media ecosystem that's about kind of lionizing companies and founders.
It's tempting to attribute their success to product alone. The truth is, company culture and operating principles come first, and it's often harder to scale. So how much of Lorikeet's trajectory is directly by what they learned at Stripe, Bridgewater, and Google? And how much is it them actually unlearning it?
You've worked at like Bridgewater, there's been Google, Stripe, Watershed, Kaggle. These are great organizations. And some of those organizations have very unique operating principles. I think principally Bridgewater, Stripe, and Google. How have those places influenced your culture?
So, I've learned a lot from working at places like Bridgewater and Stripe. Actually, a big part of the reason I went to Bridgewater after grad school was the explicitness of the operating principles. I just didn't click with or understand office politics. I need the rules of the road to be explicit so that I can understand them and then operate consistently with them.
Bridgewater would not be said to be an easy place to work. Is that fair or not? Because that's fair.
People love it or hate it.
The most interesting thing about Ray is that the operating principles he put together don't reflect how he operates day to day. They reflect the way he aspires to operate. His great achievement was the self-awareness to try and build a system that would operate in a way that was better than him. Ray's almost the opposite, where he could be a pretty feisty dude, but the principles are all hey, don't do that. You see a very similar thing at Stripe. The principles are very explicit. John and Patrick have way less tension between how they behave and what the principles are. I think they really embody them and live them. We talk about the front page test. Is what we're doing, we'd be comfortable being on the front page. A sales leader at Stripe tell me, I have never seen a company that would return money to someone they've overbilled, but not take money from someone they've underbilled. And I was like, okay, but it's users first and it passes the front page test. And that I think leads to industry defining outcomes. Why is Stripe a different company? Because it empowers a random person like me to tell a sales leader hey, we're going to give this customer and they're billing their money back, even if they didn't notice the error. We've tried to be intentional about creating a similar set of principles at Lorikeet to try to explicitly outline the way we want to behave and the outcomes we want to produce. We tried to call out what we thought were the things where we were trying to be different from sort of a generically good company, being really, really, really users first. Let's do things that make life hard for ourselves in order to do the right things by our users. We charge users for the support interactions that we successfully resolve, but the definition of whether it's successfully resolved is just fully at the customer's discretion. They hold the veto pen, and that creates a lot of very powerful incentives for us to do the right thing. We try to be truly excellent to each other, truly excellent to each other. There is just no correlation between being a smart, effective leader and being nice or a jerk. John and Patrick are unfailingly respectful, collaborative, warm people, and also extremely smart and also have extremely high standards. At a culture like Bridgewater, you'll get abused and kicked out of an office if someone doesn't like what you say, which happened to be with Ray.
We're building an engineering culture of people who care a lot about the end user experience and the customer experience. And we're successfully recruiting people from some of the high quality big tech shops around Sydney because it lets them build real stuff and put it in people's hands the same day. The other thing that we're emphasizing a lot is high agency. We have a team of people who really like spotting a problem, figuring out a solution, and owning the process of making it real, as opposed to spotting a problem and then sitting around waiting for some VP to tell them to fix it.
The AI agent space is getting so crowded. I feel like all of our friends are building AI agent companies, and every time I open my Instagram feed, I get another AI agent ad. The tech is obviously evolving, the stakes are high, people are making huge promises of what they can achieve with agents. But what is the long game of all this?
So I'm interested in your take in where are we now and where are we headed? So what is that next frontier of AI agents that we're slowly ushering towards?
Yeah, I think the biggest kind of impediment to the next era of AI agents is actually more about the process of companies understanding what to expect and being willing to lean into them.
So take this with an enormous grain of salt. My prediction would be ubiquity. I think it's unlikely that somebody will develop a single super agent that can do any job in the world and we just talk to it like HAL 9000 or something. I think it's far more likely that we'll just notice AI agents more and more around the place with specialized jobs like customer support that they do really, really well.
Certainly our house view at Lorikeet is if you can't take actions and solve people's problems, there's like a very low ceiling on how much value you can create. The kind of challenge I think a lot of companies have is they think that the responsible thing to do is roll out very incrementally and very safely in a way that minimizes errors. I think the size of the opportunity to be seized here is so big that you want to invert that a bit and kind of push the technology. The bridge that we need to cross to kind of like get full value out of AI agents is actually more about companies rewiring how they think about testing this stuff to be much less like start from 0 and edge forward and much more start at 100 and edge back, but continually do that start at 100 and edge back so that they stay with the frontier.
What would success look like for Lorikeet in the next 3 to 5 years?
Success over the next few years for Lorikeet will come from being the platform that businesses choose to deliver a universal concierge to their customers.
Continuing on the trajectory that we're currently on, growing really quickly, unlocking this opportunity, and then ultimately transforming customer support. There's a lot of terrible customer support in the world, and the more we can expand, the less there will be.
If we're successful, Lorikeet will be the platform that the most complex and regulated businesses, but also everyday businesses use to deliver that to their customers, because we'll be the platform that has focused from the beginning on being able to solve these problems, not just tell people how to go do stuff themselves from FAQs.
So I'm interested to know what you actually think. Can Lorikeet really win in this market? Is the AI agent industry going to be sustainable enough to actually accommodate lots of really successful players? Drop your comments below and let us know what you think.
As you can see, it's kind of raining right now, so we need to finish up. But if you enjoyed this episode, go check out our documentary with Instant. And we're going to make these documentaries every 3 to 4 weeks for forever. So subscribe and join us on the journey.
All right, back to work.
What?
Testing.
3, 2, 1. Birds.
Keep that in for a